The Kings lose their sixth game in a row, their fourth in a row to the Lakers this season, and lose in Doug Christie's first game as interim head coach. I thought that the Kings might come out in the first game after Mike Brown got fired and, come out and have energy and play well for, 5 games or so. I think I predicted a 4-game win streak. But honestly, I think it's better this way. It just looks the exact same, right? None of this honeymoon period where, they just win some games because the effort changes or something. Like this is who they are as a team, right? And so let's not go through the unnecessary honeymoon period. It's like in a game like this where you have a little bit of a fake comeback towards the end just to kind of keep us in a spot where we think maybe it's possible, maybe they could come back and win this game against the Lakers. But no, like they weren't coming back in this game to beat the Lakers. And so it's better off that from a season perspective, they don't go through a honeymoon period and make us believe in this roster, because this roster obviously needs changes. And that starts with putting Keon Ellis in the starting lineup in the short term, because I'm just done with seeing Monk and DeRozan take turns getting absolutely scorched defensively. So it starts with Keon getting put into the lineup. But I don't think that's enough, especially with the hole that the Kings have dug themselves, now 13-19 on the season. They need a trade. They need to, pick a direction. And if you want to try to win now, then you got to go out and make an impactful trade for a starting caliber player that can make a massive impact, because this team needs someone that can make a massive impact. And really, this team needs to pick its core and then kind of clean house around that at this point. Maybe a honeymoon period would come if and when the Kings find their actual head coach replacement, because obviously Doug Christie is on an interim basis. So maybe once we bring in that head coach, maybe we'll get the honeymoon period then. But not this game. And this was a game against the Lakers, who, like I said, coming into this game, we were 0-3 against. This is a team we swept last season. LeBron was out with an illness. Sabonis also has an illness, and he was questionable coming in. I have an illness right now, and so 3 of the best basketball players in the world coming into this game with illnesses. And hey, two of us showed up. 2 of us aren't taking nights off. That's all I'm saying. When it comes to between LeBron, Domas, and me, I know who's gonna show up and not take nights off. LeBron, he's taking a night off, not me. Me and Domas, we don't take nights off when we're sick. But look, this was just another game that played out in almost the exact same way the other 2 games against the Lakers did and the game against the Pacers did. It's just the same thing where it feels so uninspiring, I think, is the main thing. Just when I watch, even when the Kings are in it in the first half, it was I remember 19-17, the Lakers were up. And it's like, okay, we're only down 2, but it felt so bad. Like, it felt like we had such a bad start. And there was nothing that made me feel like something was going to change or made me feel like the Kings were going to win this game. The Kings were up at halftime, and still nothing about this felt different than when we'd lost in the past. The Kings came out, they tried to play fast. It was a lot of Monk and Fox doing the scoring, and they were successful in playing fast, but the half-court offense was not good. And then on the defensive side of the ball, like I said, it was just Monk and DeMar taking turns getting beat. We saw a lot of De'Aaron Fox jumpers early in that first quarter. In the first half, he took some ill-advised 3-point shots. But I think that was part of the Kings trying to play fast, and I did like the way that Fox was pushing the pace. And the Kings started this game off hot from 3. Keegan hit a 3. Keon came in, hit a 3. But it kind of felt like we were just getting bailed out by 3-point shots. Not that we were generating super good 3-point shots. There was a DeMar DeRozan possession where he just couldn't really get any space, and he just threw the ball across court to Keon. And Keon bailed us out of that possession with the 3. And DeMar kind of struggled in the first quarter to get any space. And the Kings did the thing again where they get switches on Anthony Davis with Monk, with DeRozan, and they, for some reason, just attack Anthony Davis, which doesn't work because you're attacking one of the best defenders in the NBA. And the Lakers, they were just they were getting inside and forcing the Kings to rotate. And the Kings' rotations were not good. It was a lot of open threes for the Lakers. It was shooting practice for them. And the Kings were running out lineups with Kevin Huerter and DeMar DeRozan and Trey Lyles and Alex Len all at the same time. And so that's not a lineup that's going to stay in front of anyone. That's not a lineup that's going to rotate out to shooters. That's just a bad defensive lineup. And that's exactly why this roster kind of needs an overhaul. Anthony Davis was very hot in that first quarter, knocking down jumpers. And there's not too much you can do about that. The part that the Kings needed to do better defensively was keeping Austin Reeves out of the lane and force others to be the one to beat you off the dribble. But the defense was just getting pulled around and pulled into the paint so the Lakers could then kick out for easy threes. The Kings did come out in the second quarter, and it was much better on both ends. Or they continued to do well offensively. And they continued to do well offensively because they were pushing the pace. DeRozan kind of took over from Fox. Fox in the first quarter was pushing the pace. DeMar did it in the second quarter. And DeMar, after a tough first quarter, got really involved and just started knocking down everything from the mid-range and was pushing the pace and finishing at the rim. And his playmaking was super good as well. And so offensively, things continued to flow with the fast-paced offense. Everyone was kind of making things happen. Huerter came off the bench and made some really nice plays offensively. Keon was knocking down his shots. Trey Lyles and Domas, they were getting after it on the offensive glass to help out there. And the second quarter was by far the best quarter for the Kings because on top of that offense, they were also good defensively. Although there was a period where both teams just kind of missed shots. The Lakers missed 4 free throws in a row. They missed some layups. The Kings missed some layups. Keegan missed 2 open threes. It was just a period of everyone missing shots. But with the Kings missing shots, they were relentless on the offensive glass. They ended up getting 13 offensive rebounds, and they only allowed 4 from the Lakers. They drew multiple fouls on Anthony Davis in that second quarter. Lyles and Domas both drew a foul on Anthony Davis by going after loose balls, going after rebounds. But Keegan was in foul trouble. Sabonis got into foul trouble. Lyles got into foul trouble. So everyone was kind of getting into foul trouble. And so they had to go with Lyles at center. And, AD definitely got some questionable calls. But having to go with Lyles at center towards the end of that second quarter, it made the Kings have to throw bodies at Anthony Davis. And at times they were even throwing multiple bodies at him when he didn't even have the ball. And it worked. And so even with Domas going out, the Kings continued on a nice run in that second quarter. DeMar kind of kept the offense going through his playmaking. And then Fox finally hit some shots towards the end of the half. I thought Fox in that second quarter was getting all of the right shots. Like in the first quarter, he forced some threes. In the second quarter, I thought he was getting the right shots and he just wasn't really knocking them down. He was getting to the mid-range. He was getting inside. And they just weren't going down. But he finally got some to go at the end of the quarter, and that's what got the Kings the lead. But again, the Kings got the lead, but in no way did that really inspire any confidence, because it's like we've seen this one before. And at the start of the third quarter, Kings got a couple of scores off Sabonis getting inside, got an offensive rebound, got a nice pass from DeMar. But then on the other end, this was just Monk and DeMar getting bullied back to back to back possessions. Monk getting back cut. Rui just going straight into DeMar. Austin Reeves going straight into Monk. It was bad. This just cannot be the lineup, really, ever. DeMar and Monk out there at the same time just doesn't work right now in the starting lineup. But also, I don't think it can be your closing lineup either, because you just don't get enough stops. And that's part of why the Kings haven't been a good clutch team this season. Because DeMar, he was giving it back on the other end. He was making his shots. Monk was making his shots, and he was playmaking well. Both of them were making their shots and playmaking well. It's better if you have a more defensive player in one of their places, and one of them can come off the bench. So the Kings were kind of getting bullied. They messed up a 5-on-4 where Fox settled for a 3, and then Sabonis picked up a 4th foul on a loose ball that was just so unnecessary. Sabonis, I thought I think it was like his first foul was a little weak, and then after that, it was just him being dumb, picking up bad foul after bad foul. These were just dumb fouls. Most of the time when he gets into foul trouble, it's like it's because he's picking up these soft calls and all that. This was just him being dumb. This was probably, I mean, it was one of his worst games of the season, probably, just because he was getting in foul trouble. I didn't think his defense was what it normally is. And, he, like I said, he is battling an illness right now, so you can give him a little bit of a break. But not one of Sabonis's finer games. But he was working on the offensive glass. Like, that's the one place where he was really killing the Lakers. But he went out, and again, it felt kind of lifeless for the Kings. Uninspiring, lifeless. That's kind of how I would describe this Kings team right now. They had a 4-on-3. A 4-on-3 where DeMar gets the ball on the wing, has 2 defenders come at him. And what do the other 3 Kings do on this possession? So it's a 3-on-1 because DeMar has attracted 2 out of the 3 defenders. And Lyles sits below the rim, Len sits below the rim, and Herter sits in the opposite corner. One defender is guarding all 3 of them. One defender is denying the pass to all 3 of them. None of them move. Finally, Alex Len moves, but by that point, the Lakers defense is back. And again, the Kings messing up these transition opportunities. It kills me every time. It's like those type of plays. Fox in the second quarter had a play where he got the ball at half court and was just standing there, looking out at the court and just threw the ball right to a Laker across court. There was no King there. He just threw the ball to him. Just these dumb turnovers kill me. And that's a Fox special. The cross-court pass for no reason when he could just bring the ball up the court freely and he turns it over. That's a Fox special right there. At one point in the third quarter, Keegan had Austin Reeves on him inside the three-point arc. He had the ball. And what does he do? He just dribbles it out, way past the three-point line. And it kills me when Keegan does that. Just get the ball, take a couple dribbles, and then rise up over Austin Reeves. But that's not what Keegan does. I've seen some people blame coaching. Again, they blame coaching. Why don't the Kings get Keegan the ball in the mid post? They do. Keegan got the ball in the mid post against Austin Reeves, and he didn't do anything with it. And then, on the other end, it's just the Kings getting bullied the entire third quarter. They allowed 42 points. They allowed 40 points in the first quarter. That was mainly threes. 42 points in the third quarter. That was mostly in the paint. And the Lakers started the fourth quarter with a play to get themselves a 3. At the start of 3 of the quarters, the Lakers started it with a set play to get a 3, and they got wide open threes. The Kings went on a little bit of a run. Fox was playmaking, found Sabonis inside. He found Keon in the corner, got a little lucky bounce on a 3. They got a few stops. And then Fox, he finally hit a 3, 1 out of 9. He got to the free throw line, hit a free throw line jumper. Herter hit a 3 in transition. So the Kings, offense was coming to life, and they were starting this fake comeback. And it was a fake comeback because on the defensive end, they allowed Dalton Connect from the corner just to get right to the rim 2 possessions in a row for easy layups. And those are just killer when you're making this comeback and then Dalton Connect just dribbles right past Fox for a layup. And then he cuts right past, I think it was Malik Monk, on a back cut for an easy one at the rim. Then you had Sabonis fouling out on just a dumb play. And the Kings hit some shots down the stretch, but of course it wasn't enough because their defense just couldn't get stops. And with Sabonis fouling out, Lyles, he battled at center, but it just wasn't enough. And you have to go with Lyles because right now Alex Len is really giving you nothing. At one point, the Kings tried Keegan at center when AD wasn't in the game, but that didn't go well because then the Kings just got nothing on the inside. And Keegan, he only played 29 minutes in this game, and he didn't come back until there were less than 3 minutes in this game. So that really shows you how poorly he's been playing. Normally, Keegan in a game like this is an automatic 40 minutes, but instead it's DeMar that's playing the 41 minutes because Keegan has just been so rough. And the game pretty much ended with the Kings having a transition opportunity down 10 with a couple minutes and just turning the ball over. So I thought that was a fitting way for the game to pretty much end. Going through some of the individual performances, Sabonis 26 minutes, he fouled out. bad fouls. His defense on AD was not great this game. He did hit 2 threes, and again, him and Keon Ellis continue to be our most consistent three-point shooters, which is not a good thing. And, he was getting on the glass. He didn't turn the ball over. He was making some things happen inside, but for his standards, this just wasn't a good game. DeMar, 41 minutes, went 12 for 17 from the field for 25 points, 7 assists with only 1 turnover and 6 rebounds. And he was great offensively, and he picked his spots well, and he didn't feel like he was out of place in the offense. So the offense looked a little bit more like it did early in the season, which was a good sign, and they were playing fast, and he was part of pushing the pace. But then defensively, he was just getting bullied physically, and his rotations were slow as always. And so that's just where, if you're going to have DeRozan's offense, then you need to surround him with defenders and not put him out there in lineups with Trey Lyles and Kevin Huerter and Alex Len. Keegan, 29 minutes, 2 for 7 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3 for 5 points. He didn't have to guard LeBron James in this one, but he was guarding Austin Reeves, and he felt invisible, honestly, on both ends. And Keegan's offensive performances may be the most disappointing part of this entire season right now, because we just expected so much more from him. Not from a point per game standpoint, but from an efficiency standpoint, from him being able to take advantage of being guarded by Austin Reeves at times. If you want to know how much the Lakers don't respect Keegan's game offensively, they started Gabe Vincent for LeBron James. So they started Gabe Vincent, Austin Reeves, and Max Christie alongside Rui and AD. That's how little they respect Keegan to be able to go get a bucket against a smaller guy. Fox played 39 minutes, went 12 for 25, 1 for 9 from 3, 29 points, 12 assists, 4 steals, had a really big block, and only the 3 turnovers. He tried to keep the Kings attached offensively, and it just wasn't enough because the Kings couldn't get stops defensively. And that's so frustrating because it's like you have a great offensive player in Fox and you have other great offensive players as well, but it's just like none of that matters if you can't play defense. But then when the Kings sometimes can play defense, then that happens to be the time where the Kings offense kind of breaks and looks disjointed because you have too many cooks in the kitchen. It didn't look like they had too many cooks in the kitchen this game, but at times it does. And so if the offense isn't perfect every night, then you're going to get killed because you're starting DeRozan and Monk without a rim protector. Monk, 7 for 16, 3 for 8 from 3, had 7 assists, 6 rebounds, along with his 20 points. And he was, again, solid offensively, but where's the defense? Monk is the classic guy that he, just kind of spaces out, gets back cut, and then puts his hand in the air. My bad. It's like, yeah, it was your bad, and we see that all the time. And, the defensive part of his game is just under more of a microscope when he's in the starting lineup versus when he was coming off the bench. When he's coming off the bench, it didn't matter as much that he wasn't a great defender, but now it does when he's in the starting lineup. Off the bench, you had Huerter playing 24 minutes, 4 for 7 from the field, but only 1 for 4 from 3. Did some nice things offensively, but still can't get the 3 to fall consistently. Again, just repeating myself from every other game this season here. Lyles, 23 minutes. He had a great game in terms of offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding. He came up with 3 offensive rebounds and 5 total, but he went 0 for 5 from 3, and the Kings as a team went 11 for 40. Keon, 13 minutes, 4 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3. Had a great steal, had some great contests on shooters, and came in and gave his 11 points along with great defense. 11 points in 13 minutes off the bench. So keep doing your thing, Keon. The one bright spot here off the bench. And then Alex Len played 11 minutes as the backup center. Doug Christie kind of went with a simple rotation when it was as a 9-man rotation, just with your classic, 2 guards, forward, a center. But obviously had to adjust a little with foul trouble and went with Lyles at the 5. But Alex Len at center, he doesn't look like the Len of last season or 2 seasons ago, to be honest. He looks worse. He like tries to box out, but he doesn't ever grab the rebound. He wasn't really a force protecting the rim this game, and they threw some lobs over him. And then on the offensive end, just wasn't adding much. So, unsurprisingly, the results after one game of Mike Brown being fired, it's the same. Obviously, why would anything change at this point? But I also just don't know what you expect when you do bring in a coach. I feel like the Mike Brown firing, obviously I talked about it right when it happened, but just a few more thoughts. I feel like it was kind of short-sighted, and it was like a desperation move, just a move where you felt like you had to make a move, so you fire the coach. And the reason I feel like it's short-sighted because it's like you're trying to get short-term results. You're trying to get this honeymoon period instead of thinking about the long term. It's like at the first sign of adversity, the first time the team is underperforming under Mike Brown, the very first time, then you let him go. And that's what we saw with Mike Malone, where the team underperforms because DeMarcus Cousins is out with meningitis, and then they fire him. But it feels like the first sign of adversity, they fired him instead of thinking about how this team would grow long term and trying to build something long term. It's like you're trying to get short term results, hoping that firing your coach or bringing in a new coach with new ideas will jumpstart the team to save this season. And to me, it's just like, Mike Brown, he's no Eric Spoelstra. He's no Greg Popovich. I don't think no one's ever claimed that he's the top coach in the league, but he's still a good coach. And it's just hard for me to see where the Kings are going to get a better coach. They might get a coach that comes in and, like I said, gives them a honeymoon period and gives them short-term results. But at the end of the day, we know that it's the roster that just isn't doing it for us right now. And, the front office acknowledged that in their statement. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know what we expect to improve with a new coach, because every fan base hates their coach's rotations. The Spurs fans, when Greg Popovich is coaching, they hate his rotations. Every fan base hates their coach's rotations. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm just not sure what we expect to change until things on this roster change. But the Kings' next game is on Monday against the Mavericks, the Luka Doncic-less Mavericks. Is it possible we see Devin Carter for this game? That's something I haven't talked about. Devin Carter played for Stockton tonight and went off 29 points. The three-point shot was looking janky, but it was looking good because the shot was going through. He definitely did not look like he was in total basketball shape to play a full game. But in the spurts that he had, he looked very good. And so, he could play on Monday and just not play a lot of minutes. But he looks very confident with his three ball. Just like he did in college, he will shoot them from very long distance. He was knocking him down. The free throws didn't look good. And that's why, to me, I'm always going to be like a little hesitant with his shot. Like, hopefully it doesn't just fall off a cliff here. Defensively, he got blown by a few times. I feel like that's kind of to be expected when it's your first game in so long. But he also made some plays defensively, and he was going after every rebound. He was getting his hands in the passing lanes. And then offensively, he had a really nice rebound and coast-to-coast drive for a finish. He had a really nice pump fake into a drive, into a drop-off pass to Scal for the dunk. There were some points where the Spurs sent some doubles at him and he didn't handle them all that well, but it may just have, again, been the conditioning, because I think when they did send those doubles, he was kind of tired at that point. He didn't look like a point guard out there to me, but his ball handling looked good enough to, make moves for himself off of drives, possibly handle in the pick and roll at times, just not as the primary guy. But yeah, he's an exciting player who I'm happy to have coming back here, but I don't expect him to turn this season around. He's the type of player the Kings need from a standpoint of, I think he's a two-way player, athletic, can shoot the ball, but at the end of the day, he's 6'2", 6'3". He's got a big wingspan, but I think more what he provides is he makes someone else expendable or as a trade asset himself. The Kings they got to trade some guards for some size. That's what they got to do. But I'm very excited to see him play some NBA games. Maybe he's the guy that can inject some life into this team. So anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. As always, shout out to the members of this channel, No Rain and Joe Mama, for the support. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.